Guys, welcome to yet another early morning. We are still in Greenwich, Connecticut. Yesterday we went to the Miller Motorcars Legends. Today we are at Greenwich Concourse. Now, I have personally never done this show before, but all I've always kept hearing about is you got to go for the roll-in at like 6 a.m., which is what it is right now. So we're going to wait. Apparently some cars are going to drive in. I know previous years like McLaren F1s have driven in. So we'll watch some cars roll in, then we'll go into the show and check it out. 300 SL Roadster. First hypercar spot of the day. Sorry if it's a little bit windy, but the Green Huayra BC. Oh, so let's start up. Not bad at all. We saw this car at Car Week, I believe 2 or 3 years ago. It was parked at the Miller Motorcars house the whole week, but I think it's got like brownish carbon with green. You know what? I didn't feel like it was that loud until I started talking to us how loud I have to talk. So sounds pretty good. Yeah, the paint is actually crazy in the sun right here. You can see them hold all the metallic flake, brown carbon. Too bad the front lift is up, but I'm sure it's going to come down for the show. The interior, another kind of mix of brown and green. Alcantara on the steering wheel with carbon fiber. These cars are wild. Originally, they were supposed to make 20 of these. I think the actual number is higher than that, maybe around 30 or 40. But nevertheless, you know, you don't really see them ever. You used to see them a lot of car shows when they first came out, but now I feel like they all kind of disappeared in some private collections. Finally, more of our type of cars starting to roll in. We got a Ferrari Daytona. The yellow looks really nice on this, actually. Let's see if more cars come in. Okay, so we have some cars rolling in. We have a Resto Mod 914. I gotta say, it actually looks really good. But then, come on, Miura SV green. That's what I'm talking about. Danny, what do we think about the Miura SV?
Verde Miura, probably the most beautiful. I put it this way, it's on everybody's list of the most beautiful cars of all time.
Very true. Okay, we got a proper car here. Got the SP3, dark red blue wheels. .300 SL Roadster, but Danny, what do we have here?
I think that's a Zephyr. I think that's a Lincoln Zephyr, I'm not sure.
Maybe. Red on red.
No cup holders, eh?
You gotta hold your own cup. We got the SSE Tuatara. Okay, we got a first-gen Viper. Most of them have been yellow. This one is white with white wheels. You know, we love that. Blue steering wheel. Yeah, it's the way to go.
Wait for the plate.
What's the plate?
Baby. BBY.
That's a later car. So it is a first-gen Viper, but just like the first-gen NSX, the first couple of years had a black canopy, right? The earliest Vipers had side exit exhaust. So that's still a first-gen Viper, but it wasn't the earliest models.
Guys, if you're ever in Greenwich and you want to know anything about a car, don't go online, don't read a book, just go see Danny at Porsche Greenwich.
Yeah.
That's it.
Stop by and have an espresso with you. It's better to be pieced on than pieced off.
You heard it here first, guys. Heard it here first. We got a clown shoe as well, though. Oh, brake calipers to car, dude. Silver Boxer Spider. Yeah, we got a proper car coming up right here. We got a SE30 Diablo. And we got a 4x4 squared, the biggest car we've seen today. Look at the size of it compared to a Q5. Post recall, big facts, yeah.
Post recall.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, now they work.
It works.
You know, Mercedes actually sold these brand new with like 15,000 kilometers after recall.
And didn't they convert them from like 4x4s to just regular G-Wagons?
Did they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There's some like that are like there's some exclusive colors on the 4x4 Square that you can get on a G63 because they converted because they couldn't sell them, so then they converted them to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Give it a goog.
And there's about $100,000 discount on them, so if you go buy one, you can probably get 100 grand off.
$399.
Yeah.
4x4 Square.
Okay, so guys, we just watched the roll-in for Greenwich Concourse. Now, we have about an hour till the show actually starts. Sorry about the wind noise, by the way. It's a little bit windy here today. I'll try to turn around. Maybe this will help. But if you can see behind me, there's Miller Motorcars. A few new cars are showing up from yesterday till today, so we're going to go check them out. Yeah, I mean, just to kill a little bit of time, I've seen some new Bugattis here from the road at least. And we'll just take a look at the new stuff, and then we'll go to Greenwich Concourse. So yesterday, the Mistral was inside because it was raining. Today, it's dry, so they actually pulled it out. Looks really nice in the sun. Yesterday was a rope, so we couldn't really get too close to it. But here, we can actually take a closer look at the car. So the red interior on this one is pretty nice compared to the blue interior we saw on the one in Toronto. Pretty much a Chiron interior, but with the open top, in my opinion, makes the car feel a lot more special. The back end of this car, you can see the taillights are almost the same shape as the bolide over there. Not as aggressive, but they are kind of still somewhat of an X with a line in the middle. But yeah, totally different rear end from the Chiron, even the front end, but the rear is just completely different car. Now, this might be one of my favorite Vitesses. Recently, we saw the world's most expensive Vitesse, the one that was full polished aluminum with the crazy backstory. But just like a lot of other Bugattis and other very expensive cars, this one has a pretty cool backstory as well. So this car was originally owned by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, the actor, senator, everything. He owned one of these, used to drive it around while smoking a cigar, but the spec is super classy. Silver with the polished aluminum wheels and the brown interior looks so good. Again, I just said I'm a big fan of open top Bugattis, and this is pretty much one to start it all. The Vitesse, honestly, what a great car. But with a history like that, then after that, it was owned by a big collector in Florida that has a ton of crazy cars, I believe, including those two right there. But man, what a good looking car, very classy. Most people nowadays spec cars a little bit more flashy. This is, I don't want to say if you know, you know, because it is still a Bugatti Veyron, but something like that. And then another very special car right here. The one thing is, because these are still brand new, we do see them pretty often. This is a Chiron Supersport 300, so the world record car, just like the world record edition black and orange Veyron Supersports and the Vitesses were for those cars. So Bugatti usually does the black and orange for the world record cars. But yeah, pretty cool, full exposed carbon body once you get close up. And you know it's a world record car by the black badge on the grille. Yeah, honestly, very, very cool car. But yeah, you do start seeing a lot more of these right now. I think in about 3 to 4 years time, when these kind of all go into private collections and we don't really see them at shows as often, they're gonna feel a lot more special. So if you guys didn't watch yesterday's video, we went into a lot of detail on the bolide and all the other cars here, so make sure to watch that. But those, at least here, are the cars we didn't see yesterday. So I'm gonna do a quick walk around to the other showrooms, see if there's anything else new, and if not, we will see you in 2 seconds at the Greenwich Concourse. Okay, not something I even remembered existed, but this is ultra rare. The OG, the original Tesla Roadster. This is the first Tesla. Tesla's taking over the world now, but it's all started with that right there. And we got Danny rolling in the R8 V10 right here. Excuse me, sir. What do you do for a living?
I live.
I live? Okay, so we are now at Greenwich Concourse. As you can see, there's a ton of cars here, but we're kind of walking in, and the first car to greet you right here is what I thought at first from far was a Lotus, but it looked a little bit off to me. But I was thinking, there is no way this is what I think it might be. Until 6 cars, I was like, no, that is exactly what it is. So, yeah, we got a Hennesy Venom right here. I have never seen one of these before. Back in the day, these were all over magazines, videos, doing 273 miles an hour on runways. 5 ever made, I believe. One of them is famously owned by Steven Tyler, but I mean, over 1,000 horsepower. This thing weighs nothing, and in pictures, it doesn't. It looks, you know, you can obviously the inspiration by Lotus, but it doesn't look like it. In person, this thing really does look like a Lotus until you see past the front end how much longer this car is than a Lotus Elise. And once you get to the back, it is a lot more aggressive with these center exhausts and the big diffuser, but this car is way longer, a ton of power, and we are talking about a car that is faster than a Bugatti Veyron. And another icon next to that is the 300 SL Roadster. Beautiful looking cars. Always nice to see one of these. This one looks like it is unrestored, and honestly, we do get excited a lot by these, but recently, I gotta admit, I'm a little bit desensitized to these because I think we've probably seen 50 of these in the last 3 weeks with all of our trips and events that we've been going to. Here we have the Miura SV we saw driving in earlier. Now, I didn't see how pristine of an example this car was until now when we're right next to it. I mean, the paint is absolutely flawless. The two-tone with the silver, but this is a cool combination right here. As you can kind of see, the combination here is green on blue. Again, I'm sorry about all the talking in the background, but blue interior on this green Miura SV, I gotta say this is one of the nicer ones I have ever seen in my life. There's a very nice lineup over here right by the water of Mercedes SLs. You can barely see it there, but blocked by a lot of people is the 90s SL 600, the V12. Got some pagodas and everything, but of course, the highlight out of all these SLs, it's the second one we've seen at this show right here, but the 300 SL Roadster, this specific one, kind of in like a cream color with the matching colored wheels, which is pretty cool. The interior looks really nice, kind of like a blackish, maybe a little bit of a tint of brown. It looks very unrestored, very original. Driving gloves right in the middle as well. But yeah, let's keep moving. The show has a lot of more older cars, so I'm going to kind of focus on the cars that we focus on this channel. Okay, so we got a cool little lineup of cars right here, something kind of more modern, even though it looks older. We have Gunther Works 911s. Now, this one looks incredible. Now, I really like the new headlights that they put in these cars. And you can kind of see when you go in, there's carbon fiber, but the interiors on these is my favorite part because I don't think I've ever seen these bucket seats on any other car. Full carbon fiber with a little bit of padding on it, but look at the shifter. That must be so satisfying to drive. And you have the switch is kind of like the new GT3 RSs and all that, but obviously in a way more classy way. I feel like this will be such a blast to rip around. Yeah, these things are so cool. And then you also have the Speedster variant right here, the convertible with the little humps, but same kind of seats you get. Still a very satisfying looking shifter. The knobs on the steering wheel. I mean, I feel like this might be one of the best driving experiences of all time. And then what is probably the most controversial hypercar of recent time right here, the SSE Tuatara. We've been seeing this car all over the place at Greenwich Cars and Coffee, at Moda. I mean, they do like to display and advertise this car quite a lot. I don't know what the most recent updates with all the stats and the top speed runs and everything are, but I know there was a ton of controversy when the car first did a top speed run and they claimed 330 miles an hour and it very quickly got debunked. And I don't know if the final top speed was over 300 miles an hour. Regardless, it is a very fast car, looks very cool, but just I feel like when you start life with a lot of controversy, it's going to be very hard to get past that. Now, this is something I have not seen before. I didn't know it existed, but it's a 914 that they kind of gave the same treatment as they give you like a Gunther Works, something like that, where you take the old car kind of and modernize it. But I guess the demand was there for a 914. I don't know too many people that are big 914 people, but I guess right here it is. A bit more of a simple interior, not as hardcore and, you know, not as much of a bucket seat, but I think it's a very classy looking interior. Very cool seats. I mean, the kind of plaid inserts, it's not really houndstooth, but it's kind of similar to that. The color is very cool. I feel like this would be a cool little touch on what a 914 could be like, you know, if it came out in modern day. I feel like the closest thing they have in modern day might be like a base Cayman or a base Boxster with the 4-cylinder, but you know, in those cars, there's too much technology, too much weight, too much tech, where maybe it takes away a little bit of the fun. Here, you can kind of restore some of that fun, but I'm sure for a pretty hefty price. You can see this car is number 001 right there. But man, what a cool looking car. I feel like this would be a blast to drive. And here we have the Camaro. These are Lancia 037 recreations. Same as we've looked at the past few cars here, the Gunther Works 914. They kind of take the 037s for the famous rally cars from, I believe, the 70s or the 80s, and they make them modern. And surprisingly, a lot of these cars, you don't see a lot of them, or people that buy them don't drive them. These cars, people actually drive. Every car event you go to, whether it's Moda, Car Week, whatever it is, you will see several of these, and they're all driving around, driving hard. These cars do work, they do function in the real world, and people are buying them. And I gotta say, these price tags for most of these is under $1 million. And with the short wheelbase, manual shifter, very lightweight, a good amount of power, I feel like this might be the best driving experience under $1 million in a car today. I have not driven one, not yet. Hopefully I get a chance to at some point soon, but I just think if I was looking for a car in that budget, this is probably what I would go for. Okay, so we are in more of the hypercar section of the show. Another Gunther Works Speedster, we just saw another one. The spec on this is pretty cool, the cream with the cream interior, but here we have a Huayra BC. We saw it outside loading in, but we can see a little bit more details now. The brown carbon here and here, the green. I mean, what a cool looking spec. The interior as well. You can see this is so cool. Now the thing about Pagani, obviously the interiors are absolutely like art, so are the exteriors, but nobody makes an interior like this. All like the vents and everything are made out of one piece of aluminum, I believe. It's honestly such a cool design for these cars, but there's one thing in this show that I do not understand at all. We got a Huayra BC right here. We have an SP3 right here. Why is there a Corvette in the middle? I do not understand that at all. I think this is totally out of place, and as much as I want to be nice here, I feel like everybody would agree with me. These two should not be interrupted by a Corvette, especially not with scissor doors. I think this is not the most tasteful thing I've ever seen. Skipping the Corvette, let's look at the SP3. Now, this is a very, very dark red, exposed carbon fiber body. I mean, with clouds, when it rolled in, it almost looked black, which is a good contrast to the very light blue right here on the front with this 23 sticker. But matte blue wheels, I think, is the move, because this car got unveiled with the blue interior, which is pretty much the same exact blue as these wheels. The Pacific car has that blue interior as well, along with a blue line on the carbon fiber part of the steering wheel. And I do, as much as it is so out there, and honestly to think of that, I mean, it is a risky move, but I think, so again, sorry about the wind, but I think the risk paid off. I think the blue wheels make this car look so good and so incredible. Two more cars here that are in the same row as the hypercars, which in my opinion are cooler than a Z06 with scissor doors, is the first gen Viper that we saw rolling in. Now the cool thing about these, a lot of people might not know, but they do not have door handles. As you can clearly tell, no ABS, no traction control. I mean, these are as raw as it gets, and as Danny pointed out, these have the rear exhaust, not the side exhaust. And then we have a McLaren 600 LT. So one last stop before we start hitting the road is Carriage House Motor Cars. They have an open house today, and we always drive by this dealership, but we've never actually gone in. There's always some cars at the window, and they pulled one out today, or maybe two, but this is an F40 right here. So we got some more cars than I expected actually, but this is a launch spec. If you guys remember when the Ford GT first came out in 2017, this was the launch spec, lightning blue, I believe. Next to that is a very cool car, because SE30s we usually see in purple, sometimes like black or something like that, but this one is white, is red with the kind of cream interior, brown interior. But I don't know if I've ever seen a red SE30 before. Okay, I think I know this car very, very well. Maybe it's not the one that I think it is, but it's the exact same spec. But with the condition, I believe this is the car. This is a 300 SL Roadster with the blue wheels, the blue exterior, and the red interior. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, there's a chance you recognize this car from exactly a year ago today. I believe this is the car that was sold at the Dare to Dream collection, from the big collection that was in Toronto, that, you know, they kept driving the cars. I remember specifically seeing the most pristine 300 SL I've ever seen in my life, and I believe this one is it. And that was exactly a year ago today that this car got sold, if this is the car I'm thinking of. Okay, so we're in the showroom now, and I think I might be the only person that have realized what the actual coolest car in the showroom is, because everybody's over there on the other end of the showroom. And here we have an Aston Martin DB9 that normally people would not take a second look at. But this car, in my opinion, is probably the most special car here, because this is a manual DB9. There is almost no manual DB9s. I've definitely never seen a convertible manual DB9. This might be the most rare car here, including the F40, including the Ford GT, the SE30, whatever it is. This is probably the most rare car in this whole dealership. So I have just Googled it, and there's 237 manual Aston DB9s ever made, Volantes specifically. But yeah, that's insanely rare. That is more rare than a Ferrari Enzo right here. So correction, I just spoke with the owner. This is not the same car, but it is the exact same spec.